let's talk about the first episode of Star Detective PreCure. More specifically, let's do some speculation. My name is Ayumi, and I'm the #1 PreCure fan in the world. I've watched all of PreCure, and I've been a fan for over 20 years, and I am so delighted by this season already. Huge surprise, it's peak. Now, with this particular series, I'm not actually completely sure we're gonna do an episode of this every single week, but there's just a lot of things going around, so I just wanted to kind of talk about some ideas I have, some predictions I have, and kind of update my theories based on the videos I've made in the past from before the season started regarding a few different things that people have been thinking about generally with this show so far. For obvious reasons, this does mean I'm going to basically spoil things about each episode as they come out, at least when I do these things. I will reference things that have happened in past seasons and reference the seasons they happened in, but I won't talk about which character and things like that. Just because a lot of those things are often later in the season as well, and all of that good stuff. So, question one, is this Mikuru? First thing I have to point out is that Anna's mom is not named as anything but Anna's mother, and also she is voiced by a different voice actress. This could be intentional just to throw us off. This does not mean that she's not Mikuru, because they clearly look very similar. And the other thing that I think is, meant to throw people off is the fact that, of course, they have met now in the past in 1999 and all of that. Now, they did introduce each other before Anna realized she was in the past. However, I do want to point out that PreCure is famously a show for children, particularly ages 3 to 6 as the target audience. Now, I happen to have been previously an English teacher who taught for kids of this exact age range. I watched many a child get into PreCure and leave PreCure fandom. It's heartbreaking every time. One thing I wanted to point out that is very important for this is that a lot of kids at that age do not know their parents' names. They're not given names, and even more especially so often they do not know maiden names. And for those who don't know, in Japan, spouses must select a single name. It can be from either partner, but both traditionally and just in terms of statistics, it is almost always the wife. And same sex marriage is not legal in Japan, so there's that. So, with that, it's not shocking in the context of this being a show for little kids that Anna would not know her mother's name. Theoretically, yes. We could find out next episode that she does, in fact, put it together or something, but for now, that's the situation. It could also be that, like, oh, that's so funny. You have the same name as my mom and not put together the surname, situation, because it's possible that even as a teenager, she's just turned 14, that she doesn't know her mother's maiden name. It's not impossible. So that's that theory out of the way. Next, let's talk about this one. We know from the first episode that this is a situation where PreCure already exists as a thing, and they know about the Star Detective PreCure because there seems to be one that already exists. Niji, the villain, also hinted at this. And so it is my current theory that Cure Eclair is this character, in that Cure Eclair is the Cure who is already existing, similar to past seasons. It's been a while, but seasons like Heart Catch, Happiness Charge, and you can throw Doki Doki in there. There are seasons where cures already exist prior to the start of the series and then join the main team later. So that is certainly a possibility for Cure Eclair. And then the other thing is that, of course, in the opening, which was fantastic, we saw a bunch of characters that look like they could be her. Now, some people have theorized that, for example, if we look at these two, that one of these is Kira Claire and one of these is actually the fairy Shushutan, which would again be a Doki Doki situation. That would be interesting. However, if we think back to, the idea of detectives and phantom thieves and masters of disguise, we actually have a Star Twinkle PreCure situation in that we might have a cure who actually has a bunch of different forms, or we see a bunch of different characters that all turn out to be actually the girl who we find out is Cura Claire. That is fun. And then if so, this is also like a great, like, little red herring situation. So all fun things going on there. Also, just a kind of, I guess, a little bit of an explainer regarding the commercial that we see. We don't actually know if Anna sees that is for a cell phone. This is clearly like a very, very old-fashioned cell phone, right? Because it's 1999. I just wanted to mention that, like, while cell phones, of course, these days it's more about the smartphone, we still have like really old school looking phones where maybe the visual is very classic, but like the functionality is more modern, including like flip phones and stuff. Like, I see people with phones that look like the Razor or Crazer, if you remember those phones. Like that kind of quality. Like those still exist in Japan if you really want them. They're often used by people who like, they don't need all the things, of the newfangled smartphone. They just want a basic phone. They're usually older folks and stuff. So yeah, that's definitely something I wanted to point out. And of course, at the shoe store, Anna does not actually pay for the shoes, so she doesn't notice the price of the shoes. So to summarize, Mikuru could still be Anna's mom, and in fact, very likely. Also, as far as the time travel rules go, based on Anna's mother's reaction, it could be some sort of Back to the Future type situation. And again, I think, and I could be completely wrong, that Kira Claire is the previous Cure who joins the team later, but also might be a master of disguise. So, those are all my theories after episode 1. If episode 2 brings more good things to chat about, I will definitely make another video like this after that episode drops. Let me know what you think in the comments. I definitely love hearing all the theories. We'll talk later about more magical girl news and all that fun stuff. So stick around if you're interested in that sort of thing. Otherwise, see you next time. Bye bye.